Hey, Coach, welcome to Champaign. Maybe take me through the last 2 weeks. We saw the reports of Texas courting you and thoughts of staying at SMU and coming to Illinois. So, can you take me through your decision process?
Yeah, this business it's like a game of chess. You know, you got to am I making the right move or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, this decision for me to come to Illinois was really about two things. First is family. Um, my wife's from Chicago. All my kids, all three of my kids were born in DeKalb, Illinois. You know, I've lived in Illinois for 6 years of my life, so we got a lot of great relationships. I'm from Kansas City. And then I've had the pleasure of working with Coach in the past, who's the reason number two. And, I'm at a point in my life where I think Coach Bielema can help guide me in what I want to get done. And I just think this is a sleeping giant as well. Just knowing the state of Illinois, working at DeKalb for 6 years, knowing that Coach Bielema being from Illinois and what he's going to be able to do with his relationships and everything in the state, I think if we just kind of, and the staff that you've seen be assembled is unbelievable. And I think we can take this program and take it to where, as an outsider looking at it from previous experience, can be a really, really good place.
Well, you said two words that'll get the fan base excited, which is sleeping giant, because that's been talked about for 20 years. What is it, maybe specifically when you were at NIU, what you saw, what you thought of the program in Champaign, and, maybe why it wasn't reaching its potential?
Well, the big thing I saw was when we're out recruiting kids in Illinois, at Northern, we had a lot of success there. And, the idea of going to Northern to play football, in my opinion, was, well, shoot, why wouldn't you go play at Northern? They're winning a ton of games. They're getting a lot of national exposure. But when Illinois would offer a kid, we had no chance, and I think if we can find those right kids, the tough, kids that want to play for this school, that's going to be a big deal here. And there's lots of kids locally in the area, within a 600-mile radius of this place, that you're going to get a great education here. They're going to work and get exposure in a great conference, and they're going to have a chance to go win a lot of games. And, what Coach Bielema is going to be able to do here, how he teaches these young men, just not just about football, but about life. They're going to be better kids because of it, and better people. So that was the one thing, just looking down here, I was like, man, like, it's going to happen at some point. And it's very similar to when I left Northern to go to SMU was a sleeping giant. And if you just take the right kids and do the right things, shoot, and in 3 years' time, it turned SMU into a pretty good football program. So it's kind of the same feeling I had going there as I am here. And I think the leadership that we have here, and just the talent in the contiguous states here, we're going to have a lot of opportunities with good players and have a lot of fun.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach Bob Osmundson with the News Gazette. Welcome to town.
Hey, Bob.
Where, and how much do you use the linebacker reputation in Illinois, the tradition here, Butkus and Hardy and Simeon Rice, all those guys? How much do you use those guys in recruiting?
Well, you got to. I mean, you stand on the shoulder of giants. Those are some pretty big giants. So I think you got to use all your tools out there in recruiting, and you're going to have to educate a lot of these kids about who those guys are. That's just it. Some of these young guys, they don't know who, like, a 40-year-old is, let alone a 60 or 70-year-old. So we're going to use all that for sure. I think the standards that are going to be set here with Coach B, just you're going to have to be tough. You're going to have to be a physical kid to come with, especially defense here. And I think more so with Coach B's background the last few years, being in the NFL, working with Coach Belichick, and just using those ideas as well. I think we're going to be able to use that to our strengths too. Because everybody knows the Patriots and those guys play really good defense. Well, that's what we're going to do here as well.
Coach, I know you're from Rockhurst, so how aware were you of Nate Scheelhaase when he was playing here, and how much have you followed his coaching career?
Very aware. So Nate and I, we've become good friends over, when I graduated from Kansas in 2006, my first job, I was just an assistant coach at Rockhurst High School when Nate, I think, was a sophomore. So when Nate was a sophomore, I was just a kind of a young idiot coach, kind of running around down there, helping him out. And whatever I could do to help. And just seeing how he has, obviously he's a really good player here at Illinois, and his coaching career. It's funny, when I left to go to SMU, I got Nate the job at Northern Illinois, and then like 3 days later he left to go to Iowa State. So, but no, I mean, I got nothing but great respect for Nate and what he was able to accomplish here as a player. But he's even a better person. He's a great person, and he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Thanks, Coach.
Kevin, I was curious what it's going to be like for you to give up play calling duties. I mean, SMU is not a small program, and you had a lot of responsibility there and had a lot of success there. What's it going to be like for you to not be a play caller now here at Illinois?
Ask me, after the first game. That's I don't know. I'm excited just to be here with Coach B, obviously, but the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to learn. I want to continue to grow as a coach. Working for Coach Dykes it was an awesome opportunity, and I enjoyed my experiences there. But at the same time, he was an offensive guy, and it was really just the defensive staff and myself that we did what we needed to do. And now having the opportunity to come here, and Ryan Walters is a great mind, a great coach. Andy Boo, Terrence Jameson, Aaron Henry. I mean, this staff is awesome. I mean, there's a lot of great young coaches and experience on this staff already. And I have relationships with Coach Boo from the past. Terrence Jameson was a student assistant of mine when I was GAing at Wisconsin. Aaron Henry was a player when I was GAing at Wisconsin. Ryan Walters, one of his best friends, was our line coach at SMU, so I've had conversations with him before I even got here. So I think our staff has already kind of clicked, and even on the offensive side of the ball. Bart Miller is a great friend of mine. Corey Patterson, I used to recruit St. Louis. I've known Corey for years. So it's the relationships and the familiarity with these guys. It was just like how can you not take advantage of this and learn from Coach Bielema, who just spent 3 years in the NFL, 2 of which was arguably the best coach of all time. There's how it's going to be on game day. Shoot, man, I'm going to coach the hell out of somebody, and I don't care who. As long as we all win, it's all going to take care of itself.
I was curious. I looked over the record book, and I counted only 5 players from Kansas City in the history of the program that have ever, earned a letter. Is there any excitement from your end that you may be able to bring a new market to Illinois recruiting? And because it doesn't seem like Kansas City has really been a primetime market for Illinois, yet there's a whole lot of talent, as you know, in that area and the surrounding communities.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to – obviously, that's where I'm from. I have great relationships with a lot of people there. And one of the better players in Illinois, Nate Scheelhaase, was from there, So you can obviously use Nate as an example of, listen, you can come from Kansas City and have a great time here at Illinois, and you're going to still be seen. You're only 6 hours from home. It's a day's drive, or you can fly, whatever you want. But I was able to get kids from Kansas City to go to DeKalb, Illinois, and so that they're willing to leave. And there's good enough football there. I mean, if you look at even the 1AAs or the FCS schools that have North Dakota State has made a living in Kansas City, Northern Iowa. I mean, all these schools have really gotten kids and developed them, and that is something that we need to do here at Illinois. And you're going to have a great base right there. And we've Nate Scheelhaase is the perfect example of somebody from Kansas City coming here. It can happen. And kids are, I think, are nowadays more inclined to go further than they want to anyways, so.
Thanks, Kevin. Welcome, Champaign.
Thank you.
Hey, Kevin, Joey Wagner with 24/7 Sports. You touched about what it's going to be like to be back with Coach Bielema and the coaching staff, but for maybe people who aren't familiar with how the coaching ladder works, was it a tough decision to, you've been a defensive coordinator for quite some time. How did you come to the idea that it was, this was, still a lateral or a step forward move for you, even with a different title?
Yeah, no, and like I said earlier, it really boiled down to 2 things. It was my family. I'm getting closer. Not very many times in this business are you able to be close to family. And where my kids are young at a point in their lives where, they want to see grandma and they want to see their cousins and everything. And so that was a big deal. And then, the family atmosphere that we're going to have here and working with Coach B was a huge factor. then I went with my gut. I felt like this is a great opportunity to continue to grow and learn. I have aspirations. I want to be a head coach someday, sure. And I thought this was the right thing to do. And trust your gut. That was the biggest thing. And I looked at my wife. I said, just trust me. And she was all in.
So how did Coach Bielema shape you as a young coach? I mean, getting into this industry, what was so special about that early connection that, this made it such I guess maybe an easy decision?
Yeah. Dave Doran was my position coach in college, and he's the head coach at North Carolina State now. And then he got hired with Brett, and Dave is the one that kind of introduced me to Brett. I went up and worked camps when just if I was in my free time, I'd just go up there and just see Dave and work with him. So that's how I first met Coach B. And just coming from University of Kansas, which like football is not necessarily the top of the line. It's a basketball, and going to where I was ready to sell beer. My dad's a beer salesman. I was getting ready to go get in the beer business, and I'll never forget. My mom said, "You can always come back and sell beer." And so when I went up there and I was around all these great young minds, Dave Doran, Paul Christ, Chris Ash, Charlie Partridge, Bob Bostad, Joe Real. So the staff that he had assembled there, I was Kerry Cooks. I can go on and on. And I learned so much from that time, just the structure and how to organize things. And it just gave me a refreshing outlook. And shoot, I can't believe I'm saying it. 12 years later, here I am, so it worked out.
Thank you so much. Welcome to Champaign.
Thank you.
Hey, Kevin, Jeremy from 24/7 Sports, Illini Inquirer. I got to follow up after that. What kind of beer do you guys sell or prefer?
He's the Miller guy. He was the Miller guy. So like Budweiser it's a bad word in our house. So, but my dad always did say this: there's two types of beer in this world. There's my beer and there's free beer.
My mother would approve, by the way. That's her brand. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about outside linebackers, because obviously it's one of the most, I guess, versatile positions in football. What do you guys, I know you're settling on what your defense is going to be, but what do you want out of that position? What kind of athletes are you looking for?
Obviously it is. We're going to do a lot of different things here on defense, and we're still hammering that part out. But to me, I want to see some flair, some twitch. I think of outside linebackers where you're able to rush the passer and get after some stuff, and then at the same time you're able to play in coverage and do some different things. So, the twitch, the flash, and the number one thing for me is the love of the game. Do kids love to play football? And if that's the first thing that we're able to check off the box, then the rest will take care of itself, I think. And obviously we're going to have our dimensions. Everybody's going to say I want 6'4", 225 pounds out of high school. And that's great, but the love of football has got to take, and that includes toughness. Are they physical? How high is their motor? Because if you can find those kids, you can mold them into what you want them to be. But we're gonna be like rushing off the edge. We're gonna be dropping into coverage. We got to be playing the run too, and so it's going to be a lot of fun for these guys, I think. And I'm excited for the opportunity.
How does your time at NIU, recruiting there, building the program in the state, how does that translate to the University of Illinois, in your opinion?
We had a lot of success at Northern. We built great relationships with a lot of high school coaches in the state. Jordan Lynch is the head coach at Mount Carmel. I talked to him last night. So he's a good ally right there for us. So, but it's not just him. There's a lot of guys all over the state. I recruited down in Southern Illinois when I was at Northern. So, the St. Louis part of it, I think it's going to help out a lot, because, these guys are the gatekeepers to these kids, and you got to have great relationships with those guys.
Thanks, Kevin. Welcome, man.
Thanks, man.
Hey, Kevin, Nico Hefflinger with Fox, Illinois. Kind of following up on Jeremy's question about the outside linebackers. With Illinois likely switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4 scheme, how much experience do you have maybe kind of taking some guys that have played defensive end and might kind of be shifting into more of a hybrid linebacker, edge rusher kind of role? And what are some, maybe difficulties or kind of easiness in making that transition?
Yeah, I think, as we're going through our our evaluation of the players, our roster, and everything like that. That's what we're doing right now. And we're going to incorporate the systems that we think are best. But I GA'd for Charlie Partridge. I was as a D-line GA for 2 years. I've coached safeties. I've coached linebackers. I've coached. The only thing I haven't coached is corners, which is thank God. But I think with the experience that we have with linebackers, with working out in space, and then what I've learned over the past from Charlie Partridge and even our D-line coach at the last place I was at. I think it's going to be fun to coach these guys and incorporate different techniques and tools that's going to be best for our system, and once we get our system together, that's when you tailor the fundamental parts and everything else that we need to do with it. So it's going to be fun.
You mentioned you got relationships with a lot of guys on the staff, and you mentioned Coach Boo, and I would imagine you two will be working quite a bit together, with those inside and outside linebackers. How much, or I guess how important is that relationship where you guys are doing two very different things, but in the same unit where, you kind of have to have a little cohesion there?
Yeah, I think, I look at defense as it's a big puzzle, right? And what piece are you in the puzzle? And if you're not in the right spot, then we have an issue, right? There's somebody screwed up, and it's the same thing as our coaches. We all have to be in sync. We have to know what's going on, and the biggest thing too in our room, it's awesome, is there's no egos. Everybody just wants to do what's best, and it's not who's right, it's what's right. And like working with Coach Boo, that guy's a rock star, and it's going to be fun working with him, Terrence, and shoot, because we're going to be up front with D-line. We're going to have to work together on certain things, and on the back end with the linebackers, we're going to have to work together on certain things. And there's going to be a lot of crossover and everything involved in that. But I'm fired up. When you talk about two rock stars right there with Terrence and Coach Boo, it's going to be fun.
Thanks, Kevin. Welcome to Champaign.
Thank you, Nico.
Hey, Kevin. Colin Likas from the News Gazette. Good to meet you, and welcome to Champaign.
Hey, man.
Going off the linebackers conversation a little bit, Illinois' linebackers lost a few key pieces during this offseason already. I don't know how much tape you've really gotten a chance to watch about the returning guys, but how are you kind of approaching this current room that you're going to be helping Coach Boo out with moving forward?
With open arms. I'm just, hey, here we come. And I think there's a lot of good pieces here. I think there's tools that are going to help us. Up front, we got a lot of guys that are returning that are going to be very good. And then as I'm watching and learning more about our guys, we have an opportunity. We're going to be good on defense. I think obviously we're going to continue to recruit and try to find some of these transfers or high school kids, but I think the base is there. I think we have a good solid core that we can go out there and say every weekend we're going to have a chance to win a game here. So we'll see how these next few weeks kind of pan out. And shoot, recruiting never ends, especially now with the transfer. So we're always going to be looking for the best players to come in and play, and our guys know that. And that's the first thing that we've said to them is like, we're going to bring guys in to create competition, and if we have more competition, that means we have more depth, and if we have more depth, that's the best for everybody. So that's kind of the role that we're taking right now with this stuff.
And I asked George McDonald about this yesterday with his additional title of assistant head coach, your additional title of associate head coach. What all does that entail for you moving forward as far as responsibilities? Yeah, that was, and part of my talks with Coach Bielema. I said, hey, I just don't want this title. Like, don't give me this title if I'm not going to do anything that is deserving of it. So, he's going to have me doing certain things. We haven't gotten through all the particulars of it, but I want to be able to learn and grow as a person. I'm not a guy that just wants a title. I want to have meaning behind it. And, that's part of the reason why I'm here is I want to learn certain things, whether it's roster management, whether it's, planning certain things, whatever it may be. I want to be as much involved as I can. Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
Hey, Kevin, Jim Cotter, Orange Blue News, Rivals.com. I want to circle back a little bit to, you're talking about your connections with some of the other assistant coaches and your proximity to, the state of Illinois. I know in the past, Illinois hasn't been the most heavily recruited by coaching staffs, but Coach Bielema seems like he wants to do that. And I think he's assembling a group of assistant coaches that's going to circle the state and make that happen? What, just, with your connections to the other coaches, just what do you feel like that will entail?
I wholeheartely believe that Illinois is going to be priority number one. Coach Jameson's from Chicago, Coach Miller's from Chicago, Corey Patterson's right down the road in St. Louis. I mean, so we have a lot of people. Aaron Henry and all those guys are Florida guys, but they have connections to the Midwest. Aaron's fiance is from Milwaukee, so I mean, we have a lot of connections here, and you got to take care of home. The kids that want to be here, the kids that want to play for Illinois, those are the ones you got to find, and they're out there, and there's a lot of them out there. Because once you get the guys that want to be here, then you bring in kids from other parts of the country, and those kids that have grown up being Illini fans, they're going to teach them, the kids from out of state or not necessarily from here, what it means. And that's how you build this culture. You get the best kids that want to be here, will die for this place, and then they teach their teammates. And that's why I think Coach B is putting such an emphasis on this close radius to home. We need to get these kids in here, and then we'll build this culture with those types of kids.
And when you said you were at Northern for 6 years, you said?
Yes, sir.
I know the state tournament for football is held up there every other year.
Correct.
What did that do in terms of recruiting for you guys while you were at Northern? And what do you think that's going to do now that the state tournament's here every other year, as it was in DeKalb?
Well, it's just another opportunity for kids to be on our campus. That was the big thing. If we could just get kids to our campus and see our facilities, that was a huge deal. And back then, at Northern, we had just built a brand new indoor, and the facilities were really nice. And so now we're here. We just built this beautiful new Smith Center, and the kids are going to get on campus. They're going to be here. They can see what the stadium's like. It's just another opportunity to get really the best players in Illinois on our campus. So we got to take advantage of that.
Thanks, Kevin. Welcome to Champaign.
Thanks, Jim.
Hey, Kevin. Good to see you. What is the biggest lesson you took from Brett Bielema under what was really your first real job out of college working for him at Wisconsin?
I would say, just relationships. Like the best thing, watching Brett, working with Brett is just how he is with people and building relationships. And, he's always saying hi to people. He's always looking them in the eye, shaking hand. He doesn't care who you are. It's just taking care of people, like when I was a GA, GA, we don't make money. And like every now and then, I say every now and then, it was pretty frequent. He'd come in on a Friday and say, hey, here's a couple bucks, go out for dinner, and just taking care of people like that. And, he's very conscientious about his atmosphere that he wants to create. And that was a big thing I took away, and the other one was power of the pen, writing handwritten notes to people. That's something I've always taken with me. And, because he's a big pen guy, writing letters, and that's something he learned from Bill Snyder and Hayden Fry and all those guys. And that's another part of it. But the relationships and how to keep them, how to continue to work on them and stay in touch with people, that was a big thing, I thought.
Thanks.
Yep. Good to see you, man.
You too.
Hey, Kevin, I had a quick follow-up. How did this, the last hire, obviously, how did this come together in terms of a timeline? Did you expect maybe that you would hear from Brett, or were you caught off guard? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, all that stuff it just happened, right? As this carousel goes, I didn't think there'd be any really movement this year with COVID and everything like that. And there was a lot more than I thought. But yeah, Mark Torsani is our chief of staff here. He's one of my better friends that I have. And, it's one of those deals where it's like, hey man, this is what's going on. And it kind of blossomed from there. He kind of reached out and here we are. So again, talk about people I know, the chief of staff, we go back 12 years now. It's fun to be around people that you know and trust. And that's part of it.
Thank you.
Kevin, I had a follow-up. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but when you're recruiting, wherever you are, has there ever been talk, you mentioned Illinois as quote unquote sleeping giant. Has there been talk in the industry as to why this isn't working here? I mean, when you guys go recruit maybe in the same area and, Illinois is recruiting the same area as you, has that been communicated? Because it just seems like even while you were at Northern, this thing wasn't exactly rolling as well as people thought it should be.
I mean, everybody has their get. I mean, you talk about 30 different answers from 30 different people. So the biggest thing that I see in being an outsider now, I'm an insider, is we got to get the guys that want to play for Illinois and breed the culture for those guys. And if we can keep kids in state, you look at, Michigan's taken the top, 3 years in a row, the top recruit in Illinois has gone to Michigan or Notre Dame or something like that. We need to, that's the stuff that we got to be able to say, hey, listen, we can't let that happen. And we got to kind of take care of those types of guys. And at the same time, we know we're going to have to develop kids here and take some chances on some of those kids too. If they want to be here, they have certain things about them. Those are things that we're always going to have to talk and discuss about. But there's not really one thing that said you can't do it,
Thanks, Kevin.
Anything else for Coach?
All right. Thanks, guys. Look forward to seeing you someday in person, huh?
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Coach.